Hey guys, welcome back to HT, where we benchmark first and trust next. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Today we're testing Tiny11 against Ubuntu across a full stack of benchmarks. And yeah, our goal is to beat Linux. For this one, we went with the lightest build we make, Tiny11 Minimal. And yes, before anyone asks in the comments, this is Tiny11 Pro. We don't touch builds from random sites or community scripts. The security risk just isn't worth it. We built it straight from the official website, the only source we'd actually trust, and installed it right alongside Ubuntu on the same machine. First test, disk usage after installing drivers. On both systems, I installed the same essentials: NVIDIA drivers, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth drivers, Chrome for browsing, and OBS Studio for recording. Ubuntu first. Root partition sits at 33 gigabytes, honestly. That number reminded me of stock Windows 11. Tiny11, after installing everything we needed, comes in around 7 gigabytes. I'll show you the apps panel and the control panel on screen so you can see exactly what's installed. Tiny11 doesn't bloat up on you as long as you're careful with what you put on it. Now, RAM usage. This is probably the #1 reason people jump to Linux in the first place. I'm running 64 gigs of RAM. Ubuntu recording this exact segment in OBS sits at 5 gigabytes. That's genuinely not bad. Stock Windows 11 doing the same thing would be north of 10 gigabytes. Tiny11, Minimal does better, same recording, same OBS setup, 3.6 gigabytes. But that's not the full picture since different operating systems allocate RAM differently under the same workload. So let's check idle usage too. This time we're not recording, so instead of a live capture, here's a screenshot. Ubuntu idle sits at 3.8 gigabytes. That's lower than stock Windows 11, which idles around 7 to 8 gigabytes on my machine, but it's still higher than Tiny11 Minimal was while it was actively recording. And Tiny11 Minimal at idle, 2.3 gigabytes. We can push it even lower with our own app, VELOTIC. Open the cleanup page in VELOTIC Pro. Flip on AI managed RAM cleaning, and that shaves off another 300 megabytes down to 2 gigabytes flat. Sounds small written down, but if you're on an 8 gig or 4 gig machine, that difference is actually meaningful. VELOTIC is a paid app we built ourselves. It handles cleanup. It can turn your existing Windows 11 install into something close to a basic Tiny11 without a reinstall. And it cuts RAM usage by close to half for some users. Links in the description if you want to check it out. Now the benchmarking apps, first up, Geekbench 7. The scores here are actually close. Ubuntu pulled 2,518 single core and 14,812 multi-core, and it throttled noticeably less than stock Windows 11 does under the same load. But the winner again is Tiny11 Minimal, 2,609 single core, 16,527 multi-core. Single core was basically neck and neck, but that lower resource footprint is what won it in multi-core. Tiny11 just ran cooler under sustained load. By the way, we also built our own benchmarking app. It's completely free, Windows only for now, and you can try it yourself. We'll link it in the description too. Last test for today, Cyberpunk 2077, running Steam Deck settings at 1200 BT instead of 1080p. Because my laptop's got a 16:10 screen instead of the usual 16:9. It's a 6-year-old game at this point, but it still hammers the CPU and GPU hard enough that we still treat it as a benchmark standard. On Ubuntu, we had to run it through Wine and Proton, and getting that set up was genuinely a nightmare. Honestly, even before we ran a single frame, I'd have called Tiny11 the winner for gaming, purely because it runs everything natively, no emulation layer sitting between the game and the hardware, and that held up in reality. Tiny11 came out ahead on average frame rate, had way fewer FPS drops, and edged out a slightly higher max FPS too. Ubuntu wasn't bad, to be fair, but I wouldn't recommend it if gaming is most of what you do on your PC. Okay, that's the benchmarks. Now come the opinions. And fair warning, some of this might offend a few of you. If you get offended easily, you might want to skip this part. Tiny11, Minimal won almost every category here. Worth mentioning too, most online multiplayer games still won't run on Linux at all because of how their anti-cheat systems are built. If you're an editor who lives inside Adobe, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Lightroom, none of that runs natively on Linux either. You can technically force it through Wine, but if your time actually has a dollar value attached to it, I don't see a professional wanting to burn hours tinkering with configs instead of building for clients. That said, Linux absolutely has its place. If you're working in AI, running large language models locally, Linux genuinely handles that kind of workload better. Same goes for data centers and cybersecurity work. That's Linux territory, and for good reason. And hey, if you're personally guarding some top secret nuclear codes, sure, Linux is probably your best bet too. Now for the comment I already know is coming, but free Tiny11 ISOs exist online. Sure they do. And when something's free like that, you're usually the product. Those random free ISOs floating around most likely come bundled with some free hidden malware too. Then there's the other classic. I can just build Tiny11 myself. Why would I pay for it? It's the same logic as asking why anyone buys vegetables from a store when they could grow their own. Sure, you can get a perfect Tiny11 script working probably after your 1000th attempt, or you use the one we already built for you. It comes down to one question: is your time more valuable or is money? That's enough opinions for one video. Next time, we're doing this again with Arch Linux. If you liked this one, hit like. If you didn't, hit dislike, that's fine too. Subscribe if you want more of this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. This is the Harbor of Tech, sailing off.